My name is Christopher Gilbert Grant. I'm a 24-year-old artist with schizophrenia and bipolar, which is schizoaffective disorder, and that's like the mood swings of bipolar mixed with the hallucinations and delusions of schizophrenia into one kind of disorder. I don't really like calling it a disease or a disorder though, because what I go through is more of like a difference in perception, and I've noticed it's only a disease in a Western setting. Like in a world where people say, oh, you're a problem, or you can't work, or you can't do this, you can't do that. But if you put me in, well, like being an Indigenous person, if you put me in an Indigenous community, no one has a problem with it. It's just seen as like you're just dealing with the spirits, the test of the spirits. And so what I live with every day, I like to make art and express all of the voices and the faces that I see coming out of walls and out of the floor and everything. And it can be a little freaky, but I've gotten used to it at this point. And so now I just make a ton of art about it. So yeah. To live in a generation where everybody is trying to figure out the spectrum of emotion, human emotion, the spectrum of sexuality, the spectrum of like schizophrenia and things like that is amazing. It's like, finally, are we waking up now because we're now able to actually talk to each other about how the world isn't so black and white and binary? It's amazing. A lot of people might contest it, but I think that they're afraid. It breaks everything that they thought was reality or what they thought they were supposed to be given in life. But at the same time, I would rather live in a world that's more compassionate and more trying to understand what's going on, instead of just lumping things into categories and pushing people into the corner that they don't like or think are strange. If I was as open as I am about my schizophrenia back in 50 years ago even, I would be absolutely 100% institutionalized, just because I hear voices and see things that other people don't see that apparently makes me subhuman in some sort of way. And I think that that is stupid. I love 2022. I can like do things and be who I am, and people aren't instantly like, ah! Realizing that is such a sigh of relief. And trust me, I've been alive in the odd years where people did strap me to gurneys and try to wheel me into psych units at different hospitals in different cities that would completely terrify me, force feed me medication that I didn't consent to, even though I wasn't being a danger to myself or society. So I'm really happy to live in a generation and a time where I can be in my mid-20s and just express who I am. I could all along, but the threats are getting less and less and less, and people are more and more compassionate, and it is amazing, and I'm so happy about it. So, woo!
Another Mi'kmaq word for you today is Eskedegamuchwe Auti, the Milky Way. It's my story, my life.
Hey, up here. So look out the window.
But it wasn't always that easy. What I deal with and like making films and stuff like that, it really wasn't easy at all, because I came from a place of like, there was a time where I was voluntarily homeless, where I basically didn't want to come home and I was too mentally unwell, and I started hanging out in Jacket River, And out in Jacket River, I would sleep under the bridge there and kind of do mad scrawl on the walls and stuff. And I was really kind of out of it at that point in my life. Like there wasn't really anyone there. I was just kind of existing and doing my thing. And so like after a lot of experiences dealing with like abusive people in my past and dealing with substance abuse and dealing with all of those things, it kind of lights a fire under you where you can't just sit still anymore. You can't just, I can't. Like, I have to do something with this energy or it'll destroy me. Like, it's really that dire. That's how it feels for me. And so I took all of the negative experiences that I went through, substance abuse, homelessness, and sleeping under the bridge, waking up with spiders on me and everything. I took all that energy and I applied myself to go to the NBCC Community College because I just needed a start, like a refresher. I needed like a way out of the constant spiraling that was going on in my life. And I ended up doing the animation program at NBCC in Miramichi. And while I was there, I had great teachers like Mike Catella. He's a local from New Brunswick area, some of you might know him, and Rick Knowles, and they were really good teachers for me because they understood what I was going through. I was very transparent with them about, schizoaffective and what I went through and how it's hard to come to class sometimes at certain times. And so they were very understanding. And they also introduced me to a program called Toon Boom Animation, Toon Boom Harmony, and that's where I learned how to animate on one of those little digital tablets. And I started doing the assignments for class, and it was really fun, and I was, going in every day and doing my best. But there became a point where I just kind of felt that disconnect and that spiral again, because with this disorder, it goes in and out. Like, I can be on top of the world for a couple of months, or I can be at a very low level. And I was kind of starting to feel a low, and so I started skipping class, and I instead took my laptop to the local coffee shop. And I would just sit there and animate all day and practice like bouncing balls test and like eyeballs blinking and things looking around. And I eventually created kind of like a demo reel kind of thing with it. And it was around that same time where I was kind of not sure if I wanted to stay at school or not, that I got an opportunity for the National Film Board of Canada to do Hot House 12, which was the 3 animated shorts by Indigenous people, and you had to apply for it. And I remember it was like 3 a.m. and I was at my apartment, and I was like, well, there's nothing really going on in my life. I'll just do that, and if I don't get it, it's okay. If I get it, that's awesome. And so I didn't really think about it for like the next month. But then I got an email saying, congratulations, we chose you to be one of the 3 Indigenous filmmakers. And I was like, what? Like, it took me off guard because I realized, like, I guess I have to be a filmmaker now. Like, I wasn't planning on it. I didn't think it would go through. And I never really put together a film by myself in the first place. Like, I've done videos and stuff, but it never like a film. And even though it was like a 1 to 2 minute film, there was still a lot of work to do because I pitched it as an animation. And I was a rookie at animation. I was just out of college, just doing it. And so I just kind of, what's that saying? Fake it till you make it. I went to the NFB like, hello, I'm here to make a film. And everybody was on board. But I learned that I have a secret skill, which is filmmaking, which I didn't know I had in me until I was there and I went to the meetings and did like the storyboarding for my film. That's when I realized, like, oh, there's something here that I can actually do. And I was really happy with that. And, after all those like months of working, I worked at the NFB's building in Montreal, and I lived in Montreal for like probably about 8 months there. And the whole time I was there, I was at the old NFB building before the new one. So I got to spend the last summer there ever, because it's closing down, and there was a lot of magic in that building and a lot of fun, and a lot of good people. I met a lot of producers and editors and other filmmakers, and they're all an eclectic bunch, a bunch of people that are all just happy to be weird, happy to be strange. So I fit in pretty well there. It was like my element. And so, you know, finally seeing your film on the big screen at the NFB theater and everybody enjoys it and they said that they love the film, it gave me a new confidence in my art and in what I do.
The 21-year-old artist and musician says, "Girl, begging mood to be gummy on the floor, hot legs on the floor, it's a rad magical, ayy. We born in a bubble, always keeping out of trouble, little dad, little double in the hood, says no, I'm a lose on a T4, bounce on the beat, and I'm a keeper, rock on the keeper, take a little top ride, take it full of time, grind, take it better lie, bodies in the street, crowd, moving on these sunrest, streaming on the no stress, test, always in a mess, both feet in a mess.
Artist, musician, and content creator from Papineau First Nation.
Another word I have for you is wasideg, the light from the dawn. It's my story, my life.
So one of the hardest parts of living with schizophrenia, I use schizophrenia as an umbrella term, but schizoaffective, so just not to confuse anybody, it's bipolar and schizophrenia together. So the moods and the hallucinations mix for this very spectral, strange experience for, I guess, other people. But what I wanted to explain was that when you have something like that, there's a word for it that isn't just mentally ill. If you're doing well and you have ambition and you have kind of a self-awareness to take action, there's the word neurodivergent. And neurodivergent just means a different perspective on living, a different perception. You're just wired a different way. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people who are neurodivergent, like me or someone with autism or someone with ADHD, like on the spectrum, they're usually seen as sick or ill. I'm willing to argue that people that don't understand neurodivergency or schizophrenia or autism or anything like that, I think that, you know, them not understanding it is causing issues with us. Because I'm not going to play the blame game, but what I'm saying is that if you kind of take your time to understand why someone ticks a different way, you'll realize that there might be gifts in there too. It's not all doom and gloom, but the attitude of the outside world is what's causing a lot of people to retract and kind of not want to share their experiences. I wanted to let you know that no matter how hard it gets, like, and it's coming from me, I hallucinate every day. Like, I have a moment in the day I'll stare off and I'll start seeing faces and things coming at me, but I'm still able to shower. I still make films. I still get up and do my artwork. And is it hard some days? Absolutely. But it can be done. It's not impossible to kind of hone that energy and kind of build it up, but you have to find your healthy release. Because I'll be honest, if I didn't do art or do anything else, I'm scared of how that would have released itself.
And so I think that it's not just through arts, it can also be through sports, it can be through hobbies, it can be through the things that give you pure joy and they kind of shoot out of you like a rocket. Like, you don't think too hard about it, you just do it. And I think that it's important to know that this can become your superpower if you know how to use it. I just think that there's less education on how to use it, but we're kind of getting there in 2021. We're getting closer to that, because a lot of the time people think that schizophrenia is a brain disease, but even in the mental health field they're trying to change the terms around, because we're realizing now that schizophrenia actually is a biological thing, where it starts from your nervous system and works up, and it becomes kind of like an echo chamber in your head of that nervous energy. So if you're able to express that energy and let it out, whether it's exercise or art or just, you know, hanging out with friends and having a good time, you'd be surprised the gifts that it can give you if you love yourself and you don't stigmatize yourself. Because I think that's the biggest problem, is people stigmatize themselves. They go, oh, I got this diagnosis, I'm a freak, I'm this, I'm that. But you're creating your reality. And so what reality do you want to create? I want to create one where I'm making films regardless. And even if it hurts, and even if I have my bad days, I'm still striving towards that every single day. And so I just want you guys to know it can be done. So you can do what you want to do, regardless of your neurodivergency, regardless of mental illness. You can actually do what you want to do at the end of the day.
When I draw my hallucinations, it's hard to explain, but they're drawing themselves. And that doesn't mean that I have to be blindfolded in order to, like, let it draw through me. That's not the point. I'm not saying it has absolute control over me. What I'm saying, though, is that when I look at the paper and I'm hallucinating, I get the urge to draw, and the voices tell me to draw. And then when I start drawing, where I look and then what comes out, it's kind of like a friendship, where I consent to letting it be drawn, and I don't think before I draw. And that's how I've always had a relationship with these faces, is I see them, I draw them, and I honor them. And that came from a time when I was in a really dark place, and I was homeless, and I used to draw them on, like, walls and graffiti and stuff. And to this day, when I draw them, all I hear is cheering within me. So I love them.
So when it comes to, like, what I see in the future for me, I figure, like, the best route that I can go is the route that I know best and what I do best, which is create. And so for the future, I've been kind of planning out, like, little projects here and there that I want to pitch to certain studios, and I want to kind of get the ball rolling and get more filmmaking done, because I find that when I do filmmaking and I'm creative and I have an outlet, people count on me, it kind of grows my confidence, and it sustains that confidence of, you know, like, I deal with what I deal with, but to be able to make films and to make art and have people look at it and review it, and, you know, it kind of helps my situation mentally, because you'd think, like, oh, don't talk about the hallucinations, don't talk about what you see or hear, that's bad. Not necessarily. In my case, it's actually given me kind of like a new strength, where whenever I do create and people know I'm coming from that place of, like, you know, I was under the bridge, I did this, I did that, and they see that I've overcome a lot of things. And I commonly hear from people, like, you know, that it's very important that you overcame those things. And I agree, and the only avenue that I can see myself going down is the creative one. Even if it, like, kills me, you know, like, I really love it. Like, I have so much to express, and there's so much stories that want to pour out of me. And so for the rest of my life, I just want to be a filmmaker and do my art on the side, and I have a TikTok right now. I'm almost at a million, what is that called? Followers? Subscribers? I'm almost at 1 million followers on TikTok, and on there I talk about what it's like living with schizoaffective disorder. I do simulations of it. I do, like, I answer questions sometimes, and sometimes I just draw on it while I talk about what I go through. And so for the future, I just want to keep going and going and going, creating. And I feel lucky because there were several social media like platforms or outlets for news that actually picked up my story in my TikTok. And I noticed that just all around the internet, there's a little bit of a buzz going around the name RAD Magical, which is my TikTok and it's my artist name. And so I've been doing interviews with, I did one with Health Magazine that should be coming out within the next month or so, and just all sorts of different things, all sorts of different people emailing me all the time. And it's kind of this weird stage because I don't really know what's next, but I'm applying myself to things and doing things. So, you know, I can only hope that I can continue the filmmaking and making art as a career, because it's way past a hobby for me. It's like a complete lifestyle. So yeah, that's how I see my future, is creation.